What's up, gamers? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to use your utility in Rainbow Six Siege. Before we go any further, there are links to my Twitch and Twitter in the description below, so make sure you go check those out. So first off, what is utility? Utility is basically your gadgets, right? So for example, let's look at Capitao. His utility would be his stun grenades, his claymore, and then his tactical crossbow, like the 2 fire bolts and the 2 smoke bolts. This is on both attack and defense. For defense, for example, let's look at smoke. His utility would be his barbed wire or barbed wire shield. You could also argue his shotgun for making rotates, but also his gas canisters. Basically, it's just whatever ability you have, ranging from shields to cameras to barbed wire to grenades to pretty much anything. Anything that an operator has beside its gun is utility. So the first way to use your utility is to clear utility, right? So for on defense, there's operators like Wamai and Jaeger. What they do is they capture like your flashbang, grenades, smoke grenades, pretty much anything throwable. So the way you would clear that is throw flashbangs, which are pretty expendable, not really that useful, except for clearing the ADSs, because each ADS can catch 2 pieces of utility, and Jaeger has 3, so that's 6 flashbangs you would need for that. And then Wamai has 5 magnets, which catch 1 utility item individually. So that's 11 flashbangs or throwables or pieces of utility you would need to use to effectively clear everything. Of course, you're not going to have to deal with all 11 pieces of defensive utility all at one spot. It's probably going to be spread out around. But to clear utility, usually you're going to want to use flashbangs. So good operators for that are Thermite, Habana, Ash, pretty much anybody with flashbangs, Capitao, like in the early example, just because your utility, like your clearing for, like, for example, your Zofia stuns and your Zofia impacts, your frag grenades, and your Ash breaching rounds are really useful for clearing shields and Maestro cams. It's mainly and Goyo shields. It's mainly what you want to use those items for, just because you don't want to use your utility for clearing things like barbed wire, just because that's such an easy piece of utility to clear just by punching it twice. You would rather use your utility for a different thing that's more useful and harder to destroy, like a shield and a Maestro cam. Another really good operator for clearing utility has to be Thatcher when he's not banned, simply because if you're able to throw, like, let's say there's an ADS right here, if you're able to throw a Thatcher grenade on this side of the wall, it won't get destroyed by the ADS and it will disable it. So it's basically like a 2-for-1, because usually you would need 2 flashbangs to clear the ADS, but you only need 1 EMP. So it's more efficient and a lot better to clear that way. But we just discussed clearing the utility from the attacker's perspective and kind of the defender's perspective. Now, you also want to be able to use your utility, mainly your smoke grenades or concussions or even flashbangs, for executing onto site, right? So this is kind of a default setup you would have. Let's say you're trying to attack upstairs right here. The bomb would be right here. So you would usually, let's say you're attacking from the admin side, attacking into this room, into meeting. What you want to do with smoke grenades, what a lot of people do that's bad, let's say, for example, I want to plant on this table right here. I'm going to try and do like an off plant over here. People, what they will do is they will throw a smoke grenade onto the planter, right? What you want to do with your smoke grenades is block a line of sight for the defenders, but give you an advantage, right? So a better way to use your smoke grenades would be to smoke off this double door and then also connector door. And the reason for that is, you would also probably want to do it from back here. But let's say you smoke off the double door, right? And then you smoke off connector door. Now, you cannot be shot from bathroom side, and you can't be shot from connector. If you were able to hold an angle from like back there onto the door, when somebody pushes through to try and kill the planter, you're in a better position than them, because you can maybe even crouch on the staircase. They're pushing in blind and you just can watch them push in, and you can watch their angle all the way from bathroom. Because what a lot of teams will do when they're holding yellow or even near bathroom is, if you open up this wall, you can hold meeting door all the way from bathroom. So if you have like a Doc or a Rook or Echo or even somebody with a hollow, you can contest this door. So you just block off those angles, and when you go to plant, your team can easily cover you. Because if that's smoked off right there, if they try and push the rotate, they have to push into where you're already looking. As opposed to if you smoke off the planter, First off, the planter can't see, and also you lose sight of the planter. So if you smoke off this door, or you smoke off the planter here, so first off, if the person's planting here, you probably don't want to smoke off that door because the smoke will probably spread to here, and the defender would be able to get close enough to the planter without you being able to see them and stop the plant. It really depends where you're planting. If you're planting near this table, I would just smoke off the double door and the rotate, put both of the smokes there, or maybe try and throw it deeper into connector back into here, as opposed to just inside the door, because you will lose sight of the planter, and that's not as good, obviously, because you will not have sight of them, and the defender can easily walk through and get the kill onto the planter. Alright, so the third and final way I'll be discussing on how to use your utility on attack is to get kills, right? So let's say you're either trying to plant meeting or you're trying to plant CEO. The sites upstairs again. This wall is probably gonna be, if they're not holding yellow, like in the planting example with the holes opening, then you will have to open this up. So you can use an impact or a skeleton key or whatever to open up a hole in the wall, and then you can hold this to get a kill, right? Because it's not all about planting and clearing. You also want to be able to use your utility to get kills, right? So that means using your utility to put yourself in a better position. So for example, creating lines of sights with impacts or breaching rounds or sledgehammers. This also happens really well with if you're playing vertically, right? So let's say you planted on the piano for the site's first floor. If you open up a hole here, you can watch the diffuser all the way from upstairs, holding this aggressively to cover your post plant after the execute, but also to play for kills. This works really well actually with Buck. If you can easily open up kind of 2 levels of utility, right? Lots of people will do this with Buck ACOG. You can play all the way from up here onto the wall, and this is really nice because you can't get nitro celled, obviously, because you're 2 floors above them. So those are just 2 ways you can use some utility for kills. Creating lines of sight either horizontally to hold angles, vertically to hold the diffuser, or vertically to get a bunch of kills to play. Because I discussed this in a prior video on how to play vertically. I think it was how to play sledge. The main goal for playing vertically is to force defenders into positions that aren't comfortable for them, right? So for example, you open up these holes, now they can't play near the wall to bandit trick. If you open up this hole over here, now they can't play the rotate, right? They can't play the rotate. If you open up, they can't really play the pillar or behind white van. So it's all about forcing defenders into where your attackers are, because usually if you open up a bunch of holes, people will either forget they're there, the defenders will forget they're there, or they'll be forced to play under one of them, and then if you just choose the right one, they'll have to fight somebody pushing them maybe from spiral side down the hallway towards pipes, down yellow, through the breach, and now from above. And it's really difficult to fight 4 different angles at once. Another way to use your utility is for like flashbangs and stun grenades. If you have an idea, this is mainly for the concussion grenades of Zofia. If you think somebody's in this room, for example, you can shoot a stun grenade in. And like this example, it didn't go off instantly, so you know nobody's in there. If it were to go off instantly, you would know that somebody is in there. It's like an Elemine almost. It's proximity. If somebody's in the room, it will instantly go off and concuss them. And with the concussion, it makes it harder for them to see, hear, and move, almost like an echo drone. So it's very useful to use those for kills as well. Usually you would want to maybe double stun somebody. You can use your concussions also as anti-diffuse utility. It's almost like, again, an echo drone. If somebody's diffusing, you can shoot a stun at them. It will go off and cause them to not be able to defuse the diffuser or cancel the animation. Same thing for bandit tricking. For example, let's go downstairs to the garage. So this works really well on Clubhouse for CCTV, but you can shoot a Zofia stun through the drone hole when you go to breach with thermite, and while bandit is putting down his bandit charge, the animation will be canceled, just like cancel the diffuser animation. So those are just a couple ways to use your utility on attack. Now what you don't want to use your utility for, I discussed this a little bit earlier, is breaking barbed wire, right? Like you saw the examples upstairs, playing all the way vertically from 3rd floor down into basement, or playing just from 1st floor into basement. You don't want to be using your breaching charges. Not really, obviously you want to use breaching charges for barbed wire, but your like impacts and things like that to break barbed wire, something you can easily punch twice. Even you can bait somebody by punching barbed wire and looking where they would swing from. So you don't want to use it for that. If there's a castle barricade and you have a sledge, you don't, in your Zofia, you don't want to use your breaching charges or impacts on the castle barricades, because sledge has 25 breaching hammer swings, so he can break 25 castle barricades. It's really no problem for him. Of course, if your sledge is dead or you really need to get somewhere fast, of course, use your utility, use your breaching charges, use your impacts, use your ash charges, grenades, whatever it may be. If you're low on time and you don't have time to melee it, or for sledge to rotate over and break it. But it just comes about noticing how you want to attack and what utility you have, what they have, and how you can counter it. So quickly recapping, Jaeger and Wamai, basically utility is any gadget that any operator has besides their weapon. Jaeger and Wamai stop a lot of utility on defense, so being able to counter them with flashbangs, Zofia concussions, pretty much any throwable to burn the ADSs and Wamai disc is very important, so that you can destroy other utilities like shields, Maestro cams, bulletproof cams, Goyo shields, impact a hole in the wall to make a line of sight. Use smoke grenades to block lines of sight of the defenders, as opposed to throwing your smoke grenades on the person planting. And use your utility to make lines of sight to get easy kills. You don't want to use your utility for breaking things like barbed wire and wasting utility when you have somebody that can more efficiently do the job that you're trying to accomplish. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, remember to like and subscribe. I stream pretty much every day, link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and peace out, gamers.